Let's see if our ragtag group can accomplish this mission. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 2 of Dragon Age Absolution. And so after I watched the first episode, I specifically looked up on Google, without looking up any spoilers, of course. I made sure to avoid that. But I specifically wanted to look up, if anybody else had thought that this series was rushed. And so I specifically looked up, Dragon Age Absolution rushed. And I did see that, yeah, apparently that is a pretty common belief. And, the gist of what I saw is people were saying oh, this is really good with the characters, the world building. If you really we're already into Dragon Age, you're gonna like this. But that it can be a bit rushed. And this just makes sense to me. I mean, it's a 6-episode show that is based off of a series of video games that has a good amount of lore to them. 6 episodes is just not a lot of time to tell an entire story within that world. Even if it's an altogether shorter story, it's just not a lot of time. And the first episode, like I stated last time, felt like it was just blasting through things. I mentioned I think it should have been 2 episodes worth of content in there. And it's because the first episode introduces you to all of these main characters, the plot, and then has you actually, has the characters actually start engaging in the plot. And, the plan is put forward. You see all these interactions, all this lore, all of these socio issues that are brought up. And it's there's just too much in too short of an amount of time. And it's rushing through all of this stuff that should be explored better. And that was my biggest issue. The actual plot and the characters and the idea behind it, the lore, the socio issues that were brought up, the racism and everything, I'm fine with how that was with all of that being in there. And there's a lot to like about this. Obviously a phenomenal cast. It looks really good. It is just the one issue of the pacing. It just felt like I didn't have enough time to care about any of these characters yet. We're just told information because there's no time to actually explain it properly. And it just feels like we're just thrust into this without any proper build-up. I still say, the actual, mission should not have started in the first episode. That's the biggest thing. Having that start in episode 1 was a massive mistake. And I don't know how the rest of these episodes are going to handle this all. And like I said, this could end up becoming a lot better in terms of its pacing after that. But even if this mission isn't what this series is really all about, and this is just the opening thing, which I think Vox Machina did as well. So even if that was the case with this, it still feels like it should have been slowed down. And it just, adds more precedence to the fact that this should have been a 12 to 13 episode series. At the very least, 10 episodes. Having it be 6 episodes just doesn't give it time to breathe. Very few shows can work off of that. And the ones that do are also double-length runtime. like Miss Marvel, where it's like it's basically the equivalent of 12 episodes because each episode is like an hour long. So it's it's something I feel like a lot more shows need to take into account these days because with, streaming becoming a major source of new, programming, a lot of shows are being cut down to shorter episode counts. We're not getting as many shows outside of like anime or like the broadcast TV sitcoms and stuff that are longer episode counts anymore. The stuff on streaming is all short episode counts. And the reason for this is basically money. It comes down to budget. It allows these shows to have better budgets for, animation for the animated stuff or, all the set work and costume work and everything for live action stuff. And just, all the other stuff that goes into making these. It allows the budget to be put towards that while the amount of episodes are kept short, are kept lesser. You know what I mean, lessened, so that they can balance it out. It allows for better production quality without as much production having to happen. And that's all fine and good, but you have to balance it out well. Like, again, if you're going to have like less than 10 episodes, your show should have double length runtime. It really should. If you're going to have like 10 to 13 episodes, that's fine to have like regular 22-minute to 30-minute runtime. But like 6 episodes, it's just not enough. It's just not enough. You might get the very, very rare, like, occasional thing that comes up. But for the most part, it's not going to be enough to tell a truly compelling story. And sure, there are exceptions out there. There's always exceptions. And a lot of those exceptions, like, can amount to, like, I don't know, like anime OVAs, for example. Where it's like, yeah, they only have like 3 to 6 episodes or whatnot. But that's all they were ever meant to have. And that was like the entire plan for the story. And even then, that can cause issues. Like with Cutie Honey, which we reacted to. Like, that absolutely should have had at least one more episode. And should have at least been, like, handled better in terms of the tone and pacing of the tone. Like, I have no problem with the tone changing a bit, but the way it changed between each different OVA episode was like so jarring and just really broke immersion. They really needed to make it feel more natural, and they just didn't. They just didn't. And that was my biggest issue with Cutie Honey. And, it's one of those things where this is one of the biggest issues that I feel streaming has brought up along, outside of, just shows being canceled left and right because streamers can do that. Though, mind you, broadcast TV also cancels shows left and right, just not as much. But, being able to, like, have these shorter shows, I feel takes away a lot from a lot of what these shows could have been. Even the best of them, even those shows that are, like, really damn good, could have been better with longer episode counts. But that might just be my opinion. I don't know. It's all subjective either way. either way, I decided to have like these pre-thoughts, like just talking about that today, because honestly I couldn't tell you much of anything about the story or the characters with this so far, because the first episode didn't give us a chance to learn anything about that. It's just throwing us from moment to moment without giving us a chance to breathe and take anything in. So I can't remember any of the characters' names. The only one whose okay, I remember two of their personalities. The Kunari girl is kind of bubbly and goofy and silly, but like also kind of like sassy and whatnot. And the main girl, the elf girl, is very edgy and very you know, down on herself and everything. Also super gay. And like that's all I could tell you. Because nothing stuck with me. That's the problem. Nothing stuck with me. Because it blasted through everything without giving a chance for me to like absorb any information. So I really hope that this second episode does better with that and continuing forward into the rest of the series. But we shall see. So in the meantime, let us get this going and hope for the best. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This episode didn't really help. So first off, it starts with like, I don't know, 8 minutes or so of following and focusing on these other characters who we have no context for at the beginning. They're just completely separate characters who, yeah, are I guess connected to like the overall mission, but they're otherwise it's just weird that we're following them, you know? And then you go back into our main crew doing the infiltration, and we kind of go back and forth at that point. And we learn that I think they're supposed to be the two friends that Miriam was playing with when she was a kid. I think that's what was implied there. But either way, we know that at least the Magister guy, I don't remember his name, hold on. Resrin, we know that he knew her because there was part of a flashback that was shown where I guess there were a lot of people killed and it was because of her, and this is probably right before she ended up escaping. And he was like, how could you do this and all, so it's probably the last time they saw each other too, I would wager. And that connects things. But it feels like things are almost out of order or like weirdly placed and paced still. Because it feels like a really weird point to put that in. You're, like, if that were at the start of episode 3, like after all of this went wrong, and like let's say this episode was dedicated just to this mission and everything, and we saw these characters in it, but we just assumed they were people who were here at the palace who we didn't have any like context on. They were just like higher ups. This magister and this guard who clearly has a thing for him, and it's very much mutual. But then at the beginning of the next episode, it reveals who they are, like connected to Miriam. And next episode, it also shows us that they were, dealing with this entire thing with the with the circulum as well, and had to fight, memory slash enmity and all of that. I think that would have been better placed in the next episode after the events of all of this had gone down. Kind of like, okay, we see everything happen, and then we go back and start to explain it all. I even think that it would have been better to wait to actually show what the fuck is his name? Fairbanks. I think it would have been better to show his betrayal after we saw the others come upon him and see him die. I think it would have been better to like have that like to not know what led to him getting to that point and everything, and have that like be something revealed the next episode, or like just afterwards. Hell, maybe they could have, instead of starting this episode with the other two, with the Magister and all, have it start this episode with him being found, and then go back and explain how it gets up to that point. I think that would have been better. Starting this episode again with 8 minutes of just these other characters who we hadn't seen before and have absolutely no context for felt very weird, especially again for a 6-episode series that we don't really have time to be pussyfooting around with. It's just, again, it's not just the pacing with this one, although the pacing definitely could have been handled a little better. It wasn't as bad as episode 1. It's the placement of certain plot points. It really feels like it's jumbled around in the wrong order. I feel like things should have been ordered separately here. And that would have made it more engaging. Fairbanks' betrayal, by the way, means nothing to me. Let's talk about that for a second. I don't care about Fairbanks. This series in 2 episodes has not attached me to his character. So his betrayal doesn't affect me in any single way. It hasn't really attached me to any of these characters. The only character it's even tried to attach me as a viewer to is Miriam, because obviously it's giving her the focus on having been a former slave, having escaped that, become like this professional assassin, and is now having to deal with going back into that and deal with her trauma, face her, her past and her pain. It's trying to get me attached to her, but it's not giving us enough time to absorb any information with her, because there's so many other characters we have to focus on. There's so many other things going down, and there's just not enough episodes to cover all of that, to give us a good amount of time to actually, focus on the characters well enough. When Miriam, gave up the kid because of her own fears, her own insecurities, her own traumas, and, then regretted it almost immediately after and went to try and find them, it's that should have been, almost a big moment. It should have almost felt like a betrayal when she did give up the kid. I didn't care. Should have felt like this big moment for her, coming to her senses when she chooses to go after them. Had no effect on me. It's just what am I supposed to think when you don't give me time to think? On top of that, pretty much every other character in this party is nothing. They're just nothing. I have to look up their names because I don't know them. Roland, Hera, Lachlan, who the fuck are they? Like, I know nothing about them. They have no presence whatsoever. They're practically a waste of space and time. They're taking attention away from the characters that the show actually wants to focus on. And that's sad because Hera is like Miriam's ex and potential partner again. But Hera practically just does not matter. Even with the thing at the end, with her unleashing this, security system or whatnot, basically, on the castle. It's like, what does that, like, if she had died there, if Fairbanks had killed her, it would have had no effect on me. And honestly, I don't think it would have had an effect on the show. Because the series has not made any semblance of attempt to make her a character. And this is, it's honestly, like, baffling to me. Because again, I've seen short series before. Hell, I'll give you an example of something I currently started reacting to just last week. Fucking Golden Boy. This satirical, comedic, over-the-top series about a perverted 20-something-year-old taking, I guess, odd jobs and being weird, but also being a, like, technical genius and everything. Had better pacing, better storytelling, better character work in the first episode than this series did in 2. And both of these are 6-episode series, by the way. Golden Boy is a 6-episode series as well. That first episode was better than both of these first 2 episodes of Dragon Age Absolution put together. And that, again, is a satire series about a perverted character that has, female characters dressing in ridiculously oversexed out outfits. Why is that a better show? Again, based off the first episode of that compared to the first 2 of this. That is baffling to me. It's better paced, it's better written, it's better handled. The characters actually have a lot more to them. Which I don't understand. I just genuinely do not understand. And this is based off of, like, a really popular RPG series. And the thing is, I can't say that they're not putting forth effort in this, because they clearly are. The problem is, they're not doing it well. They're clearly putting all of the effort into having the lore that connects to the lore of the series and everything, without putting any effort in, like, all the effort's going to that, and going to, like, the character design, the world design, etc., but not to the actual storytelling, the pacing, the arrangement of scenes, the character work, the stuff that, in my opinion, matters more. It's like, I don't even see how you could enjoy this as a companion piece to the games. I don't even see, like again, I'm coming at this, I said this in the first episode, thoughts and all. I'm coming at this from someone who has not played a Dragon Age game before Veilguard. Like, outside of a tiny little bit of, I think it was Origins, but I'm not 100%. But, like, I haven't really played a Dragon Age game before Veilguard, right? So, I'm coming at this, like, as someone who has only experienced the game that came after this. And the storytelling and character work in Veilguard is so fucking good. It is so well done. It is so beautifully handled. It is paced excellently. It is, like, so engaging. It's nothing like this. And that makes me worry about, like, the previous entries, because I had been, like, thinking about going back and playing Inquisition, because I can get that on digital and stuff for PlayStation. I was thinking about going back and playing that after I finished Veilguard. Now I'm not so sure if this is like what to expect from it. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is just a 6 episode series. I shouldn't judge a game based on that, right? But it's like, I'm just like so put off by this. And I hate that I'm put off by this much. Like, I went into this episode, when I was doing the pre-thoughts and everything, I went into this episode hopeful. It's like, okay, maybe the first episode just isn't that good. Maybe the first episode, just rushes through things and it balances out from there. And again, this episode wasn't as rushed as episode 1 was, but that's not to say the pacing was good or much of anything else. I'm just... Listen, this is a 6 episode series. With this episode finished, that is a third of the way through the series. And you expect me to be willing to give this a chance still? Like, yeah, I could go on and do episode 3 next week. And that would at least give me a halfway point. But it's like, I've said this before. But why would I put myself through continuing to watch a series that I am actively not enjoying? That I am actively disliking? Like, it's not even a matter of like, oh, this just isn't doing it for me. No, I'm actively disliking the choices they're making. It is actively irritating me. And it's not something I like to experience. This is something that I've brought up time and time again, but my mental health is shot as it is. My mental health is not in a great place, and I don't know if it ever will be. But that's why I tend to drop a lot of shows that tend to put me in a mentally bad space, whether or not they're even good shows or not. I bring up a lot of the time Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol, fantastic series, extremely well written, well acted, great characters. Could not continue watching it because it put me in such a bad headspace that it was like really, really making me depressed to a point that I was not okay. Like, in any way, in any sense of the word, I was in a very bad place. It was really bad, and I couldn't continue because of that. Because that's the kind of stuff that the series tackles. Doom Patrol tackles a lot of those heavy, depressing subjects, and it became too much for me. It was destroying my mental health so much worse than anything else in that time. And so I had to make the decision to drop it for my own sake. But then you have shows that I drop because I don't like them and because they're affecting, like, the way I think and the way I act and everything, because I genuinely find them to be bad for one reason or another. Think like Arcane as an example of that. To where it's like, I just am really, really actively disliking this. I really just can't stand it, and it's making me so upset, even thinking about it, even talking about it, that I need to, that if I continue, it'll lead me down a path in my mental health journey that will not be good for anyone. It definitely won't be good for my mental state. And I really hate to say it, but this is doing that for me right now. Because, like, I'm watching this episode, there's a good portion of it I'm being very quiet because I'm, like, trying to absorb information the best I can. And I'm also, like, trying to enjoy it, but by the end of the reaction, I'm just like left very like hollow. Like I don't know if it like could be read while I was reading the credits. I don't know if you could tell like from my face and the way I was talking, but I just felt like very empty. And then I started doing these afterthoughts, and as I talked more and more, I got progressively angrier. I've been like spiraling almost into further and further like just upsetness. Don't think that's a word, but we're going with it. We're going with upsetness. Um, I don't like it when a show makes me feel like this. I don't like it when a show brings these kinds of emotions out of me, unless the show also brings out positive emotions at the same time. Because like there's shows that like Has Been Hotel that obviously get me really deep in my feelings. Especially episode 4, I think it was, of season 1, with Angel Dust. You know what I'm talking about. That episode that really bothered me on a lot of in a lot of ways. But then the episode also had some real like high emotional high moments, like the Loser Baby song, and then Angel and Charlie's little moment at the end of the episode. And it kind of brought me back from that. It was able to like it fucked me up, but it consoled me afterwards. This episode, this series, like, isn't consoling me. It's just the negative emotions. It's just making me upset. And I don't feel right continuing it. Because I don't like the way I'm feeling right now. I'm actually really upset at myself for feeling this way, but I'm also upset at this show for making me feel this way. I'm not in a good headspace right at this moment because of what this episode was like for me. And just especially after episode 1. And I was very enticed to check this out because, of how much I've been enjoying Veilguard. But God, this has not been like living up to that. And I have no idea what I would replace this with. Like let me see if I can bring up my thing here. Because it's like I was not expecting to have these kind of negative emotions right now. I was not expecting for this episode to upset me this much. I had no plans for changing this out. I had no plans for like something else taking this spot. I have to figure that out now. Which means I have to look at my list and everything. I mean, there's plenty of other shows I want to check out still. But it's a matter of, like, what do I go to at the moment? And kind of one of the worst parts is this is also the only thing I react to on Tuesdays. So it's like I don't even have anything to bring up my mood after this. I'm going to have to like watch something or play Metaphor or something just to be able to like heal from this. But it's like I'm looking at like my list of stuff here. And I'm trying to think of like at this point I'm going to need something that's going to like bring up my mood, I think. I'm going to need to find something on here that like would be like a good positive vibey thing to watch that would make me feel good. Because it's like I need something that I'm going to not like find myself constantly upset by. There's a lot of stuff on here. And I do have a couple of shows on here, it looks like, that are like, I guess you could say, like more casual shows, but I also think like at least one of them here is a little longer, and I wasn't really planning on, because this is again a 6 episode series that I wasn't planning on finishing here, so I also have to take that into account as for what I would switch to. I'd prefer it probably to be something shorter if I can find something. Sorry, I know it's not the most exciting part of these afterthoughts, but yeah, something I feel like I have to do here. And again, I got a lot of stuff on my list. But I'm not like really finding much of anything that I'm feeling like I really want to get to right now. That's the worst part. Because again, I'm trying to look for something like a little more, for lack of a better word, lighthearted. Something I can enjoy, something that's just fun, and it's not something I have to really like worry about too much with that. Like I'm looking at my first impressions, my donation rewards, and a lot of the stuff I'm seeing is like, oh, this is going to be a little more like story focused, a little more heavy, gonna deal with a lot of stuff like that. And then there's some stuff on these that, aren't even out yet, like Hell's Paradise Season 2. And I don't want a show that has a longer run time, so I don't want to like bring back Lucifer or anything right now, or anything like that. Hmm. You know what? I'm not gonna like waste too much time. We're gonna do a poll. What I'm gonna do is by the time this goes up, I'll have figured out like at least a number of things, and I'm gonna do a poll. And you guys can vote on what's gonna replace this. It's gonna be like, I don't know, 3, 4 options, and you guys will choose from those. I'll figure that out. Um, because I don't want to waste any more time here. But yeah, I apologize for those of you who were like wanting this back when I did the other poll that like led to Buddy Daddies. And then I brought this in saying like, oh, well, you guys wanted me to get to this. I had a couple people asking for it and everything. So I'm going to get to this now. And I apologize for those of you who are like interested in this and excited for this. I can't do. I can't force myself to watch something that is making me feel this negative of emotions afterwards. There's so much. The worst part is there is so much potential here. There's so much good ideas, but the execution is so poor that it's actively upsetting me. And it's like it just makes me so just angry, honestly, because of how it's being handled. And I'm just like very disappointed and very upset at this. And I apologize once again because I know there were at least a couple of you who were like looking forward to this and wanted it to win the other poll in the first place. But this was bad. This second episode not only didn't change my mind after the first, but actually exacerbated the problem and made my feelings towards this just like so much worse. So I'm sorry, but yeah, we are dropping Dragon Age Absolution. With it being a 6 episode series, it's like again, a third of the way through it. If I'm not enjoying it at this point, I'm probably not going to. And I'm not willing to put myself through these kind of negative emotions to find out. So I'm like, I am very sorry, but I need to make this decision for my mental health more than anything, and move on to hopefully something better and more lighthearted. And again, I will, well, I mean, mind you, we have Buddy Daddies on Wednesday, which is very lighthearted comparatively, but still. I will put up the poll once again. By the time you're seeing this, the poll will be up. It'll come up like shortly after this video has come up. And you'll be able to vote on it. And that will determine what will be on Tuesdays going forward. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.